上说了，我找到那是非东北哈没半天，跟没整个咕噜，卡出给工作那样 grief，ขนม嘛，it's funny 就考 last year 头个，กูเจ้าเก่งอยู่ช้าคือกูน่าเสียตุนใหญ่ฮะนั่นอย่าง头个 after my 头กูน่าใหญ่ตั้งแต่ช่วงเลยน่าช่างกู from the executive director of Bay Mong WMU nu talk của một katsu grief too and so của tung bang bang lại但是头个cũng bang tang de của nhà của nhà lên mò lại này ạ de của chuyện là một bài trí ha and so lu lu à thì cái bố mò có lu à thì lu à thì like open nu on de của giống một kha này ạ de của nhà lên mò của lúc chỉ để của cái một bài để của bố ta ô văn chữ chế cái chỉ đâu chế cái chỉ bằng lúc sĩ hành nó được của nó ya and so after họ they maybe a few months later they nã sư phụ ha mê HB này thay cái nã chế mê cái này lu chỉ họ grief ministry no and của văn chỉ cho cái nữ he guided me through a process. Nè, giờ lúc sĩ họ thì dùng là văn chỉ đúng bằng của lúc sa, nếu như bao hạt ta lúc sĩ hỏi cái của yo teach cho tờ WMU chỉ tao giờ sĩ hỏi cái dùng cho của này giờ,但是你英邦 ministry nó được của lợi, and so của văn chỉ cho hạt ta nu continuously thay của ha lúc sĩ của lu ôn tên nụ lên nó, and so cô had to make cô chia the expert but côยังยออีตัว clinical therapist côสู้เขาหรือแต่ยอa clinical supervisor ตัวไปอีลูกงหง就ตอนMinnesota ตอนนั้นนะ and so côยอตัว supervisor คือลูกบ้านใช้ไปยอหัดแต่ยอในหมดcái nhiều sáng này ạ, năm bốn nhiều sáng, and so cô to practice 到over 12 years. Cô thấy hiện giờ từ clinical to social worker about ningo hiong lo no lo, and so I feel that I have some credibility in speaking about mental health and counseling, and so I think that's why Nasufu Tomba asked me to help to support ministry no, and so 我哋不但講下咗。每場那這因包的古呀，一度那這個哈魯蒙民主場 and so maybe there are going to be times where 古哈魯誒古採取到the vocabulary 古被有下呢 and so 古 talk 個咩採下幫古路採到個 there's a lot of new words that we may not have Hmong words to, and so 咩頭陣時都古下上地都古啦。Okay, and so I will share my PowerPoint. I'm just gonna leave it like this and just make it bigger. No, I'll just put it on. Can you all see this? Oops.
Yes. All
right. So the first slide is Psalms 23. This verse gây nó như yên băng của hệ na thầu cứ last year cứ thầu của na hát sẽ tuân giải của yên khi cho văn chữ hệ ha của yên tu sa cho văn chữ because chỉ ta yêu khi yêu tu văn chữ, 但是yêu khi ha ta ở trong tại dạng nó fall upon you này ya ở trong yêu cái này mua cái nhiều sa lên nó ý hướng sự cái này đâu cái nhiều sa luôn bỏ lên nó, and so thầu cứ cũng nhau tổ hôm mùa ha thầu cũng nhảy quan chỉ chú lưu tây trong này gây nó như always lưu thái của dù này ya, and so cũng dùng mình nhảy cho mình na, and cũng sáng có mình sáng chú mình được khen na thầu cứ mình chỉ cái nhau sa cái quan trọng nó na 万举帮妹他才妹了讲了要。And so, Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And so cái nó mà người thấy của rượu vì ta chỉ ta cũng là hát dễ đơn giản, 但是头有莫结婚做nó那样 there's a lot of problems, you know, trong này但是nhau cái này xí lúc xí hợp cái you more cái nhau sáng nó cái này lu take over na ya like you chân nên trong này you hà là chỉ là chỉ xí hữu you ba chỉ là trong này you chỉ ở đây là you lúc sáng nhà na ya and so thầu cứ cũng nhảy cái nó mà you thấy cũng dùng hành vi ta vẫn chỉ lu hà đó cũng hà ta nên yên nhon đun đại cũng nên yên chỉ tao cho cũng chơi. I know that cái nó mà cho đầu tư cho sư phụ bố khá cho đó từ xẻ lu funeral but khả nó nè lu thấy của này it's the opposite because thầu you nhớ kiến quân chỗ là họ mà trong này you tụt to là hay này trong này you chỉnh cash you chỉnh mua cash you chỉnh cash you chỉnh nhớ là trong này you don't do to more là này because you feel empty, you feel like you chỉ sáng ổn định nhớ and so thầu văn chỉ muốn cái nó lu thấy của you mà nè lu băng hay nè ground của hạt ta cơ trình mua chú sa nhớ này có cho gia cảnh nhiều sa lu replace life anh có lấy bao hạt ta của dân nhớ được này có it's thôi dạng tận đây nó mong của dân yếu cho có học kể. And so this is why I san share this Bible verse. And so thầu cũng mua ít tu phong như cũng mua cái nhau sáng lên thầu cũng chỉ luôn nó. I always share this with them, and then I always share that văn chỉ lúc bông bỏ lên kia, and you each tao cho bố chế. And so I just want to remind you all that văn chỉ lúc mẹ hẹn, and của văn chỉ cho hả ta. Của lúc bao văn chỉ thầu cũng chỉ cái nhau sáng lên nó, giờ tôi giờ văn chỉ giờ tụ cứ cho cụ học kế cụ trả lời lu lý để cái nhau sáng nó, dù yên chính mua cái nhau sáng mà,但是nữ lu ban thay dù của dù ổn định tao, Gabriel, mom is still teaching, okay, Eugene still normal, okay, Eugene nhỏ ổn định tao, Eugene ổn tao hậu lu, Eugene ổn tao ít tu nát chế, and so tôi giờ vô văn chữ sẽ cụ trả lời ổn tao nên. And so I do want to say that thầu của lu thang nó na, and有么的样个没去到呢 feel free to stop me and ask question to call của sáng của may understand the yang của kha ha, and if you have example của may sáng luôn gì là just let me know too, okay, because của sáng của may be part of this this training của ta training,但是可能要your conversation, okay? And so get is a normal process of reacting to loss. So you this is something that you will go through. You and so the loss may be physical. For example, physical, and then or loss of health, and so that can be a loss too. You do very healthy, do you more getting your shy you watch it out they young good tall you what down there and so there's loss there too you yin more get one job sometimes more they pung you good or do you you more they pung you good but you more lay la you more they make you boy a jolly you chill pung you there's loss there too and sometimes you bông hậu lử này and you do ở tàu hậu chú hậu lử họ tàu nên có tài xong rồi and then all of a sudden bố cha lên chỉ yếu lại lo you know chỉ muốn nhà cho lúc company để bố muốn cho trẻ này and so in all of that nhưng mua cái quan trọng điều này it's just a different type of grief that you go through and so some of the emotions of grief you know, includes anger, guilt, and anxiety. You more or despair. Only you or and then also physical reactions of guilt of grief includes sleeping problems. Only physical thing, you you see no more, you get more, get more and so all of these are symptoms and reactions that you can have when you're experiencing grief. And so what is grief? There are many different types of ways people grieve, right? First, which I experienced, death of a parent, right? Or you more gay 心到 or miscarriage, you more itu more right? You're disabled. You can't do the things that you really want to do anymore. You could do. More like physical illness, like diabetes, or you sometimes so let's say you're to Minnesota, but only you state because you can and you and then you get Minnesota and so that there's a sense of grief there too because you sometimes like grieving a child leaving the home gần tới cho ta sinh pause á,但是我真冇講grieving 係那樣個研究你更高咧，你知道冇啦，要研冇考研究那樣，and so 研究係猜呢，and so there's grief there because it's a transition，你聾了，你走就要嚟。And then also, like some people experience house fires, or more the weather, tornado, you lose everything. You more and so there is grief through those processes too. And so I just want to read this to you. Grief is real and is suffered. You're not crazy if you feel it. It means you loved someone deeply. And so grief is something your experience and it's normal to feel this way. With grief, sometimes some people say you you keep it to yourself. You more all of these things happen to you that you're the normal you know, so all of these things that you go through is a normal part of grief. And so you know, I just want to hear, I know last week make your grief story, make your testimony and so just wanted to ask that what does grief feel like for you? And so maybe answer the question no.
America no le ka da sa de sport de ka no general min ji ka ka to ni ha yo in specific ja le ba ku no je ya ka ha zu na ka da je ku ni na yo. So I do have experience of that. My house total loss in 2006. Kulu na lo kau to i xiong gao na. And I was traumatized. Thế bảo à? Cô traumatized, cô chỉ đi chỉ, cô đi lúa, cô lúc này tăng lúa, cô chỉ đi bảo lên này, cô chỉ đi, 我一下到过去补，你等了这姑娘当初也有嘛，比着lúc này, nhưng mà start over nó lại na, ý lúc nó查到lại查na.
Yeah.
And that's how tough it is, you know. I had to go through a whole new process. Like, biết rồi lúc này trả được gì,你只要lúc này trả được gì mà要一天trả na，要一个 start 努力na，可能要一个个有人3轮刀哈，4轮刀。
And there was grieving there, right? Through that process too.
You big question na, you big question that why happened to me? No na, you big more kena lu sang lu. Kena de lang jin yong lu, oli ba tang ke ka ha lang jin yong lu, you kai lu ko zhong lu de, bo lu nga ju zhong de, or you sang yong de sang long down down de bu chi zhe de you get late depression lu.
Yep, and we'll talk about that too. Thank you, Navana. Luluto. Anybody else? What does grief feel like for you? What happened? How did you feel?
I can talk about, that miscarriage. I had a miscarriage, my very first one. So, finally, there's only about and then I had a miscarriage. Question about you, but I thought that this was the baby that you gave me, and I waited for so long, and I cried a lot. It's not that Gucci trust about you ain't trust, but I had a lot of question for God, like what was the meaning of it. And really they not to choose you go te good on them bona tia about you got only not a go really there. But eventually as time passed, that you might reveal really there. She going over to joking God, I grieve for maybe 2-3 months here in the go away like the ship mate chat or you chat mo or hello she mo that feeling again comes you like you just really cry, you just in pain. She going over to had there 3 months later, then I got pregnant with my son. So but you could go grieve the day where go had the the shiva go feel good. But then he made me reflect on some of the things that happened or that you sing the night. And then my father-in-law my father-in-law, and of course my husband my father-in-law asked Napong to keep and so when I got pregnant, my father-in-law could see had there, oh, do you have a Napong keep and I thought to myself, no, that's not right, but the credit went to Napong and I'm like, so God just kind of revealed things in a way that, only about you didn't dare talk glory and so that was just my grieving period. But then later on then and so that you see the bigger picture then one day going on that and that he or she is waiting for me, and I'm just excited to see
Yes, amen. Thank you for sharing. So I'll go on to the next one.
It's okay. nhớ xuyên đó nó mà đời yêu nè yêu chỉ yêu tên năng lâu yêu thì yêu lâu là tao cho yêu chơi lên đó mà 我这有那些天，我有这个的，我有大概这些人过里呀里，个么超多的是头楼，个都能来写了的，用里个这里ปลาตั้งทอที่是了个怎么一个，可对了多天，用里个孬。一颗啊咯，个老公么哈，个哈孬一颗，有孬一颗有肉做到做的是了有有这来了，我都有货天，可能一颗我都有大给这些更够力，就是用些还的么话就我就把有at the same time 还的有都先不在，有有先不在了，么话就不有第六是很的。个一路个都这整有些天过了了，个一路好个路些好个路把路，你多么一考啥还的啊？一弄古元之女了呢？这可能也一考我抽到有了热天，可能也一考我不到有天压力，用力的压这个他们压做到一压到一考多了的呢？这要点了，这要点做的考虑呢，这要一考我。I think that's very tough. 就被说的就古了古音中面的一样高。
Yes, it's very hard. Tell you, Chimo you not hatsila. I know that very well. And so, Ochona. And so in Geponjona, there are 5 stages when you cope with death. Okay. And so, or just with grief in general. Okay. The 5 stages are denial. Denial, we'll go through it in a bit. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Okay. And so first stage, the denial, that you had you took that, oh no chimo jingle, you're in shock. You get that, whoa, no, it's not true. It's not possible, right? And so this is an initial response. You knock at that, you don't you lose you get that, oh, right? And this is your brain's way of protecting yourself. Okay. And so this is a brain's way of saying, no, this is not happening. You're trying to understand and comfort you. And so this is the first stage that you'll experience. The second stage, after you deny, you're like, oh my gosh. And then sometimes you start to get angry. You get and then you la do you to king law, you la do have to your more than no to don't know tell us yet or more than no so you become angry at yourself, at other people. And then you sound to you to Canada, you go all and not and change more and no, you're more and not and change more and no, and then you start to feel get key. And then sometimes it's they lose control. And I have to tell you that Toku and go vacation, and then when I came, I went into auto JU na and so and it's part of the grieving process because you happen to you. And so that's the second stage in the grieving process. The third stage is bargaining, right? Bargaining is a stage where you cling to one irrational hope, even when the facts say otherwise. It may be expressed overtly as panic or manifested in inner dialogue or prayer unseen by others. So if it's like bargaining, that you bargain, do want you, you start to find ways to replace situation. right? So that's bargaining. And then the fourth stage is 给我杀, right? You do sha, do you king la, you 给我杀, you become hopeless or helpless. You watch 到底呀, do you do king le, you 三组啊去了, you pay 三组给配是, you 去摸一颗 hope, you 去 get shadow 啊去嘞, you do king 嘛，用嘞 it feels empty, 用嘞鸟葫芦 you 路内嘛，用嘞 everything 就中度是那样。And so that's a stage of depression that you are going through. And again, all of these stages are normal process of grief. And then the final stage is acceptance. Acceptance that you're okay with it. You sound to oh, do more than all I can't do anything about it. You negative feeling. You and so you accept the process and so that you can move on. And so fifth stage you move on you tell it that okay I have to continue with life even though happen to I have to continue my life. And so that's the stage of acceptance. And so I want to stop here and share one more question new how to the 5 stages. And so as I'm talking, I hope that maybe you have gone through all of this, right? You went through all of this. And the thing with these stages is sometimes grief and you go through a circle, a cycle, right? But really, experience that it's like this. It's all over the place. Mo inu ko denial, inu ko mo shot, inu ko yes, it happened. And then one day you're angry again. And sometimes when you're angry for a long time, you keep for a long time. And then all of a sudden, and and so the grieving process is not something that is it just goes round and around. It's like this, where it's squiggly, it's all over the place. And that's a normal part of grief too. And so when you feel like you don't feel that way. It's part of the process. And so when you accept it, you find ways to support yourself or let other people help you to support you. So you can move on. Because the thing is, for too long, let's say we're in anger for too long, you're gonna the way that you think is gonna change. And so we'll go into some of that in a little bit too. Any questions about the grief cycle? Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, it's clear for me. Thanks.
Yep. And so these are the dimensions of grief. Individuals who grieve can experience major physical, emotional, cognitive changes, right? And so you so there's emotional response. Emotional response right? Physical sensations mean you get like mama blank, you mata how, you pay mama for no reason. It's because of the stress that your body is experiencing, right? Because of your grieving, the crying. Altered cognitions, meaning that so there are times when that you get it that you get it the way that you used to, right? For example, you know, when I started to not know how to think about work, right? You get the way that you you know, help 帮古我都明咗古家咧，始終咧古樣我都拎難咧那樣。You just like think about you're still a mom, but you're still trying to take care of yourself. And so the way that you think about what they're doing, it's like I don't care at that point. 就可以整上次要到傾先啦又 because you're trying to take care of yourself. And so you know, the way that you think, the way that you behave, right? Behavior, you put you you get a more you get a more young different places. So behavior changes like that are real. And so grieving can affect all of those dimensions in your life. And so normal signs of grief, okay? Again, the grieving process is normal. Don't put shame on it. I think sometimes you know, don't say that to the person who's grieving. I always say, you know, it's okay to cry. If you need to cry, cry. Because that's a way for them to get their emotions out. You know, but to the point where it's too much, then but don't tell them that it's not okay. Because what happens is you start to feel abnormal, you start to feel crazy, you start to feel like you're not yourself, right? Because this grieving process is normal. That I'm thankful that a lot of my friends didn't tell me to stop crying. And if they did, it was out of their kindness of their heart. And so that helped me because I study this. And so I knew what I had to do to help myself to get back to my status quo. But you know, she studied just allow them to cry, allow them to talk, and help them to normalize these symptoms, right? So denial and belief that the loss occurred. So that's normal. Feeling of emptiness or empty stomach, right? You chi chai blanc, you do normal you chi chai blanc. It's part of the depression, the cycle that you're going through. Feeling restless. You go running, you go do all of these things because you're thinking too much. You're thinking about way too much and you don't know what to do with your body and your body can't sit still, right? So that's feeling restless. Heavy in the chest, heaviness in the chest ma, I felt a lot. Because I hold all of my stress in my heart, in my chest area. And that's where stress starts too. And then again, angry. And so these are ways that you know that you are experiencing normal signs of grief. Again, mood swings from anger to guilty. Inuka key, the inuka gala feel guilty. Oh, maybe this would not have happened, right? The need to take care of others to protect them, right? To bang, like for example, when I lost my parents, your brother, her sister, and then I forgot about my kids, right? Because I was trying to protect my brothers and sisters too. The need to retell the stories of their life, that's normal. You so that it helps you. That's normal. tightness in the throat. These are normal signs of grieving. I'm not going to go through all of these. I just put these as examples. The recovery period. The recovery period, then it's different for everyone. Okay, meaning that when you accept that recovery period can last up to 2 years or longer. You have relationship to do to or for example, how much you lost, right? So how much did she lose in that? And how much did she, how long did it take her to recover from the loss and the trauma of losing her home and all of her possessions, right? So it's different for everybody. You know, it could be different from me, from Nasifu Bameng to Nasifu Tomba. It can be very long. You know, let's say losing my parents, you know, this is the first year. I'm feeling a little better now, but it doesn't mean that okay, you know, it could be 10, 20 years from now. But as time goes on, it will get a little easier, okay? Maladaptive responses, meaning that more the stress is so hard, the grief is so heavy that support 不得 king 了那样 and so 不蒙查的养错了不好教了帮的个 suppress 不得 king 个不超莫给有啥了帮个不超 feel all of the feelings that comes with grief 一查都内嘛不有啥很 to the point 不给了找不得 king 哈了不蒙you know, they commit suicide or they kill somebody else because control. And so that's very real too. And that is very complex grief. And so we have to be aware of that. Really assess okay, take it seriously. So last week a bit time to do not check and she's divorced. When she says that, you know, take it seriously because and the thing with suicide is that it's an impulsive action. So talk about to king very impulsive we take longer to think about it and we go with a more less lethal process, right? So meaning that, you know, or what is going to kill them the fastest, right? Your woman, what is going to kill me the slowest, right? And so there's a difference in that too. And so we have to understand take it seriously because of grief. It's a very serious thing. And so that's why at the beginning of that time, you want to check in with your friends or your family who's going through this and ask questions. And ask questions if they're feeling okay, you know. Don't be afraid to say, have you thought about hurting yourself? Don't be afraid to ask that because that's a very it's a very shameful question to ask, but I always do it for their safety. And as a mandated reporter, as a therapist, I do that regularly, just to make sure that people are okay. And if you don't feel...
Yeah, good. Mỗi khó chuyện ta có những khó trong cũng mỗi mình chỉ ta tới tụ nạp chế nữ lối lại trong cái hàng cái nữ chỉ là mỗi nữ tới mình nhiều to bảo chế na giờ cái đó nữ sáng tạo lý trang tới nữ chỉ ô lại họ na tới bây giờ có bù lại những mua họ có những mua giờ tôi lại có luôn là或者只能来những happen để thằng bố đó khi bố họ depressed time kia nó thì bố họ angry period nó thì maybe có họ say stand nó ya trâu thành cái tụi tôi nên nó nhớ cái thành cái ý思nó nhớ thành cái ở cái sự này tôi qua cho họ rồi để tôi nó chỉ lưu cho thành cái bao nhưng mà qua để tôi nó lưu thành cái trâu energy asset chỉ tao nữa nhưng mà qua nó là cái để chỉ cho có những mua những hạt bệnh hao yeah.
Yeah, that's why you start to pick up that the more good na ya.
Yeah.
Your Shindao na ya. That's
Oh,
because they're
yeah.
going through that grieving process. They're angry. They don't know what to do. Mo kiến yo sha that you chip out sang na. And so you respond in very toxic ways. And so we have to, you know, when you bao ta to nei ha ni ki hai ni yo sha hai na, don't be afraid to ask. Okay. So yes, thank you, Navana. Anything else, Miss Anzi, as I'm talking?
Okay. So I think họ nói cái kho cứ biết cầu có biết bao giờ để thành lý nói thôi thì biết muốn dù tụi tôi nên là thằng thì bao tiền mới kiến nhớ sáng nó là biết hà lê bao giờ tại sao nên nhớ rồi thành tư nên nhớ tới thôi thành ít thành ở thành bê bây giờ nôn nữa tao ok nhớ thành là nó có lúc sáng này có sáng có lúc này có sáng mình nhớ được tư có nhớ rồi có trong này trả lời nói như thế tao ô của ta sẽ của tôi sáng多了是那来呀有的包的哦要你长多给人查给多要你查到给一你查到给八点你查给多了那是嘛呀我要你查到给八点你检查给多但是要你查到给八点你们查给多我的个要你去包那点你们查给我多啊路途了我个马路呀你有哈那嘛呀
Yeah. So grief can be very serious, okay? Because it affects your cognitive thinking, right? So it changes. You know, you could be a very happy person. You lose somebody you love, experience something very hard na ya. It can change the way các cái sáng có cho nên có giờ ít tuổi very happy,但是头个go through car experience nó có cho nên khi có cho nên chỉ chỗ hà lu rồi có cho nên nhỏ có tối lên có cho nên isolate có tụ king le họ thì that's what it means by it changes the way that có cho có tụ kiểu bự ha and the way that có sáng.
That's very true. That tôi có thể tôi có nào. I'm one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do it con na. Yeah. Tôi cũng nhớ có situation li có tôi cũng có grief nữa thì cũng chỉ là một cái isolate thì cũng chỉ là rồi cái ha. Yêu tôi này ý chí này yêu hà lu một point yêu đó là trong cái yêu chỉ sản xuất tôi này là hà lu à. Nhưng cái cảm giác như mỗi yêu lúc cao chỉ là mỗi yêu isolate kia chỉ là ta cái chân chụp bắt thằng lo bắt bán tôi yêu nó nữa.
Yep. Yep. And so you get it some more to you the king and I
some more bà yêu tin nó cái some more chỉ yêu cái family cái là yêu cái chỉ sản xuất bắt thằng để yêu cái trai liệu.
Yeah. So thank you Navana for that. So helping a grieving person you bound to go you control le kyang na ya. So kano ipla pe yo practice active listening, okay? So Ipla Sifu Tomba is going to share her story, and Guyo, you know, you guys are going to practice that, okay? And so we'll go through that in a little bit. And so listen with compassion. No, to to ning ha ka to ko na ya. So nu ka nu zu gen yo sha ro ko e ko nyo tu you no su. So never try to force someone to open up. Yo ko nyo nyo e ko yi bu ha da nu yin yo sha da shi it's okay. You don't have to force it out of them. Exhausted so never force it unless you open to con ya so cũng to point you can you to husband ha you to you chỉ xia to she in within 1 week na ya để thọ cái you more funeral họ để thọ you xia cả để ku text you so ku to chỉ hu do you ku text you da hey có okay ku thọ văn chỉ đó có giờ có sẵn được ku thang có hu đó ku cause ku bao hạt ta ku yên hu ít ra để you chỉ té na ya. And so Kupaha Nichite because she had a lot of people that she's calling that are calling her to comfort her. And so ku text don't know ha ku sang tên đông tới ku chơi nữ dù này ya. But she always read it and she always texts me back at the okacho ku sang tên yang nó chơi ku dù này ya. And so but I never stopped doing that cho khó của bao tần những những nhảy sự and then thổ những mua sĩ hỏi hữu cụ tên mà hữu cụ nhỏ đời nữ sữa trên những cả hữu but don't stop checking in be creative with how you check in accept and acknowledge all the feelings meaning that thổ nữ kỳ na có bù hạt nữ kỳ cái cho kỳ mà you know say của bao đã có kỳ you know I understand của tao là you know allow yourself to feel whatever it is and you know just allow them to feel it and protect them around it you know dangerous na ya so your book kỳ lo qua là just say của bao đã có yên kỳ gần gầu có những yêu sa na có bữa sáng thẳng just ask them if they want to talk about it if they don't it's okay just make sure that you are right there next to them so that they know that có yên nhon được that có yên comfort bona even though bố chúng mua tê lù hà đó có là it's okay even though có chúng mua tê lù chơi là you know validate mean that help them to understand that it's okay that they're feeling angry right now and that it's okay and it's normal okay and then be willing to sit in silence you know go the point you hot talk go mong don't to husband no funeral na go get like khởi ni sư go to chi ha i lo lo chân go khởi ni sư ni ga go for 10 minutes no qua go chi ha i lo chân na and then no malu ha to go that oh cho Mary go to la no na and I didn't say anything else I just said you know just let you know that I love you and that's all I said and that was so comforting to her right and I always offer prayer and so I always say you know and that in itself is so healing especially even you just offer to Christian ask them. It doesn't hurt to ask. And if they say no, don't feel bad about it. Okay? Provide ongoing support. And so, support the you do bother than you do more get you taught that you won't do time but make it consistent, especially if it's a ito don't like luna okay stay in touch with them so my friend lose to husband she had 5 children under 11 then they rong le ku chi bong du lu tu thang le ku chi bong du lu tu thang rong le ku ya ít tu burden cho lu tu ya ku hu do po ta ku ni ke bang de rong le ku cha le ya ít tu na che ku chi bao bang ku tu king le ha na so lu tu mo ke sang pe zo lu tu king le na ya and so make sure that you mo tu pu you le no lo you chen ne mo ít tu ne ku rong le no na continue to ha ta ku nyang da no ya ka ni a chi ha do ku bao na or nhỏ thì có cho lên ta mở cho nó là hạt ta you know của bao hạt ta có mua chỉ tụi mình nhỏ có bậc cảm của tôi rủ bố inu and có mua washi có mua tôi có to cane or go do something to take care of yourself doing things like that to offer support cho tụi tôi này người ta là bán tàu người tụi kinh ha because cái tôi này cứ mỗi cái nhau sáng nó they don't know how to ask for help okay cho họ bắt ta là vậy là ha nếu tụi isolate cho tụi kinh là na nếu tụi cái sáng cái sáng tụi họ cứ nếu cái quan trọng là nếu tụi what they have lost they only think about that so it's hard for them to think about anything outside of that unless they have people or what the king or but some people they can't do that for themselves they need others to come around them they need offer practical assistance be the one to take initiative you know của tôi friend họ mà thọ tôi cũng nhảy tới Bible verse cái nó của cái là mất sang cho nữ sự and she says oh my gosh last week của sang ít có Bible verse cho nữ cô được của người ta Mary có bảo ta cũng mua cho của chính mình lúc party của tụi mình nhỏ của tụi mình nữ của ít cousin của trong nữ gì mà nữ cái là mong tổ ai họ có thay kia nữ cái là chỉ cảm cho nữ chế đây mà cũng mà cô mà cũng chỉ帮助luôn từ thằng này nè and so thọ cái sang còn nói được cô nữ thay của dùng hình này I didn't know that I was doing that but văn chữ hay ta của sang mong cho nữ sẽ của sang mong nè and we don't know how it's gonna help them but we know that they need the support right and so thọ cũng một cái nhiều sao I was thankful that some people just say hey are you okay you know they take me out to eat right that was helpful to me because it helps to ground me right it helps me to think that life can still be normal okay offer to go grocery shopping help with the funeral arrangements you know we are very good at helping right with the funeral arrangement cho có biết bên trên mà you bao hạt tụi này họ nếu mua cái quan trọng để bên trên những bán tháo ha or chua yang cho tụi chỉ cho họ na and that's I love that bên trên của tao là họ stay in their home to take phone calls and receive guests big amona bên mua họ dù mà na it's so helpful I think her practice no to pick a mona no ya yi yang zhong heng because you jenny lu ban tell you le lu ban do you guo lu ban they ma zhao do you know it's so beautiful that pick a mo be wo tao te yang no to call me gan what you more you know to ne ha sia te zhong le you da gang lu je de you know you to le su you to point you who do you but you chi mo yi to ne nyong da you yi shang na ya it feels very lonely. I remember talking to Nasia na, it didn't have anything, and but when I came home, it felt so empty, and it felt like it was not the same house anymore. Even though in the past, they bought this house, but oh. I felt this sense of emptiness, loneliness. And so, you know, help them to feel less lonely, right? Take care of the housework or clean their house or help them do their laundry. He couldn't do anything. You know, he didn't even know how to take a shower. And so my brother had to give him a shower because even take care of because grieving can be so hard and it takes a toll on someone's body. Watch their children, pick them up from school, you know, drive them where they need to go because, you know, they don't feel like they could take themselves anywhere. The grieving is too hard. You offer you know con nhớ trẻ tao ở bên nước ngoài và tao mua lên từ cho con mồ ta la le ít la của tôi nó các bữa sáng của tôi tao có ít một ta la okay ask them if they want to do things with you okay so these are ways that you can help somebody who's grieving Okay, so there are warning signs that sometimes we should be aware of because that the grieving can be so hard and dramatic that it's so hard for them to live their life daily. Because it's too hard to get up. That is real. When they grieve, they focus on death, extremely focus on that's very real. Excessive bitterness and anger and guilt. So bitterness is very, very extreme. So like they're angry, like they're like, you know, and it's to the point where they have to do something, right? Again, neglecting personal hygiene. For a week or a month, and so that's extreme. And so we have to think about it's very serious, and so they need help. Sometimes they need professional help. Some people hallucinate. Hallucinate mean like that you get it right? Or and you get in chai. So that's all a part of the grieving process, but it's also very extreme because they're at a point where it's become too difficult for them to do things for themselves. And so I would say, help them to seek professional support. Okay. And you có bảo hạt nữ yên chỉ okay lấy nữ有找nữ都看了nữ都hạt nữ有冇我攞咗女都呢 call 911. Don't be afraid to do that because you're helping them. Okay, you don't want them to do something that they will regret. You're gonna regret that. And so when you're in that position, really assess, what do you think? What should I do right now? And I always pray. Fanchi is the first person I always go to. Even with your clients, your clients, some will hurt other people. The first thing must go intervene, and it's always worked out so far. So I'm very thankful that, you know, and he always gives me what I need at the moment that I need it. And so it's very important for us to understand that it can be very difficult for some people.
Mary, I think it reminds me of what happened, the case in California where một tua nên bu này ya, một tua lúc chỉ cần đầu chấm nhiều tôi cho chống này ya. Của bảo ta tiếc họ đến mình trong nên nói ya, chẳng chỉ như lúc trong tôi nên lúc sát thì chứ mà chùa point của tôi nên muốn agree muốn cái chỉ nói nếu chỉ nên để nếu muốn kiến筑了muốn cái chỉ rồi nên để cái nếu hàng biểu họ trong nên nói trên hà để một tua tao tôi nên cái nếu tua ít tu sẽ chỉ bắt khởi cái nếu chúng một tua就中途hà để trong山啊的họ nói họ cứ tôi nên chỉ sáng chủแต่họ cứ落起落很少下但你要我了好多嘅tôi nên被上也是被叫懵了被没干嘛就搞你个那你个可能我个嘛我 understand 哈没干拉他们把电脑的就就是说我个嘛我哪一度还你好一路是老不一包的直接放了喏哈被叫么嘛要你好嘞喏老觉得哎呀，个的，然后那个时候，我去倒一下了，那个包了，他觉得，哦，这啥我，那你这啥的浪了呢？你觉得，多多年了没跟走了呢？但是嘛，都是能走，就上了讲，有路上上了讲的，有路很久下了讲的，你倒了好的，有个阿婶你收了好呢的。这样说的喏，这样个被去搞，被去包，被叫么被去搞，被去包的，被去包住的。一直都你下到一路路的古上多呢，才到但你都已办好多了，你古上么多领导呢，古路啥古起了都拿的， 你都帮下的你都把木头你多了那they call it no you're very risky
Yeah.
high risk 那没讲我 high risk 老了那被着梦被只说梦可能我一考个这了的路没讲的 serious 那么少路梦还里讲哈路的这了那妈妈这了那要
Yeah, 就可以一直都你嘛头部 very depressed 不去包不to king 了呢 and when they do those things 不去包的不完啊 you know and I've you know in my line of work 头摸了好 trauma is so deep that 不给了个 word 要 dissociate 那要 dissociate they you 都去包用来the big clinical 嘛古巴但的 spiritual 嘛用来 you 都就 be leave your body right it's like your spirit leave your body clinical they用来 you lu都情样对了那样 you 就去到下的 you 我的样来拿的讲呢 that's dissociation your mind is disconnected from your body and so you don't even know who you are okay so how do we help a grieving child sometimes especially during this COVID time you know right there's many children who are orphaned how do we help them and so we need to allow the child to attend the funeral some people are like you know whatever but they need to have that closure too they need to know that pray with the child and allow them to also learn about how God is with them help children find ways to symbolize and memorialize the deceased person, right? And so it's like for me, I always create they call memory book, you know, memory book and then we write stories about it. And so right? And it helps them to feel better about what the king, right? And then keep the child in the keep the child's daily routine as normal as possible, okay? Because they need routine. They need to know what the next thing is, right? And so it's hard. Like I remember and I didn't even know how to help them. But the good thing is that routine you know, they have class keep their routine regular and normal as possible. And then pay attention to the way they play. Okay, so that they play. Usually play toy and so that's what I do with children is I laid out my toys for them to play and I play with them and then we talk through their feelings with the toys. And so that's very helpful for children too. So if you're a Sunday school teacher, you're going to Sunday school teacher, don't be afraid to help them. Because even though they doesn't mean that they don't know what's happening. And they go through their own grieving process. And so just common triggers of grief, the year of first. So like the Gunan, this is like the first official year we celebrate Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthday, that is the hardest time. And I know that for many people who go through grief, that first year is very hard because you celebrate the young and all you do and it continues to and sometimes when you experience this that means you go back to that cycle, right? You toka munji ka cycle ha, and it can be worst or it could be as bad as the first time you went through it, right? And so it just depends on how deep your relationship was with that person or how painful the loss was. And so this is just more, because of time, I'm just going to skip over that slide. And so Tashinona, Usanko, practice active listening, okay? And so Nasifu, do you want to go through this since you put the slides together? Nasifu Tomba.
I can, or you could just continue.
Okay, I'll just continue. It's up to you.
Yep.
And so I'm not going to go through all of this because I do want you to share your pieces too. Is that okay? I'm just going to teach them the skills. The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply, right? And so sometimes to be do to tana ya bichia ta no lu ha go to ha ta ni zu ge nyo sha le kyan ta shi be no de be san te sna ya. And so all of the sifu ha, you know, told you know to don't ha new call testimony new ka story they you talk insert you talk tell it to you to king and that oh yeah because what happens is that you deny new story then you got to validate how that new experience very painful hurtful but we can to sáng chủ có tụ kinh sĩ để có cho là khá chủ có lấy sĩ để你去帮的都能好呢你帮过但是你去帮的都能好 right ya你努过 they okay that's good because sometimes they need to know that wow you went through that too thank you for sharing but let them respond first you cannot truly listen to anyone and do anything else at the same time. Okay, so toka actively listen na ko no nu hatatana. That means ko cha mo o no. So toka du nu ta ko cha ta ko lu fong lo ko mo zo te la lo. Right? It's you sitting next to them, listening. No so to lu ke po hana. E po cha le po da ko yin lu pom bo le kya ha ka yin are really there for them. And to be honest, it's so hard to not touch my phone nowadays because you phone your hana and sometimes it's hard because you chi confident hata you bang tao tu nei ha and so ko tun chai la they ko ya la oh ku chi bao te ne ku chi bao bang ne chi kya ku ko ku phone you know that's not considered active listening. Okay, there's a difference between truly listening and waiting for your turn to talk. Okay, so I'm just gonna put these out there. So so hearing, right? Hearing, there's a difference between hearing and listening. Okay, so many times hearing and listening are the same thing, but it's not. Okay, it is similar, but there's also differences in them, right? So hearing is an accidental automatic brain response to the sounds that require no effort, meaning that you just hear it when it comes. So let's say I heard the cough. That's it. Okay, I'm not thinking about why, I just heard it. It's involuntary, it happens, it's effortless, you hear it. So I have a fan going on. I could hear the fan, but I'm not paying attention to it. I just hear it. Listening, that it's purposeful, it's focused, right? Listening, me go shut everything off. Go yin, you're focused on what you're trying to listen to. So let's say story and for example, I'm trying to talk to you and my son is coming and talk to me. I'm trying to focus on you guys and not talk to him, right? And so I'm trying to stay focused on my listening and and what I'm doing. Okay. It requires motivation and effort, meaning that you feel like it's obligated or you're forced to, right? So when you're in class, you want to learn. Like right now, you guys are listening to me teach about grief. You want to learn. And so you're actively listening to what I'm saying. May intentionally it's not that, and you know, you guys may be doing other things too, which is fine. But when you're listening actively with active listening, you're intentionally trying to focus on the person. You're concentrating your attention on them. Okay. And so iplano be your practice now. Okay. Active listening. Yes. What is being said? Okay. Genuine desire to understand the speaker's feeling. Listening with your senses. Okay. So you're listening. You're so these are things you want to do. No is thinking about what you will say. Okay. Don't think about that. Okay. And then place judgment on what was said. So let's say I said something that's, you know, talking to somebody and I said something that was very deep, and then it's different from and then you start to judge me like, oh, get married, you know. Don't think that way. Let them speak because they need to get it out of them. Okay. The point of listening to Tutoneng Hana is because you want to get do you even because in therapy, sometimes we hold on too much to the things that hurt us, that it changes the way we think and the way that we behave. And so that's why therapy is so important, because we're encouraging them to get all of their sadness, all of the things that they're struggling with out of them, so that they can think like, wow, that all happened to me, right? It becomes like I always say in therapy, it's like ilu balloon na ya. Imagine ilu balloon na, and to the point where and so therapy is air so she doesn't explode, or they don't explode, because there's too much emotions, there's too much hard stuff inside. And so as story last week this a question and so the question is what did you hear from her story testimony? What were some insights that you learned the story? How do you feel when you heard it? How did you feel? What were some of the emotions? Feel sad? Did you feel angry? Did you feel frustrated for her? What are some of the things that you could say to encourage her, right? So you can think about those things, but continue to actively listen to what she says first. So right? What are some of the questions you would ask of her? So it's a conversation where what are some things that you would ask her to get more information, right? And then how confident do you feel about supporting her? Okay, right? Feel comfortable. Like it would be very hard for me. And what could you have done differently to comfort her than what she experienced? So think about what you could have done differently. from what she experienced. Okay, what could you have done differently? And then what are ways to continue to engage and support her? What are ways okay, so any closing thoughts? Okay, me pun mate yang nu pun de be yo nu nó là sư phụ tham như có testimony. Okay, so grief is like ilu iceberg now. Okay, no yalu iceberg in the ocean. Okay, you know what is
là luôn nó quá nó có
Yeah,
cho
luôn
lâu
nó-
cho iceberg à.
Luna kwanya to the ocean. Okay,
Ừ.
And so kano ba ya ka tip. Okay, kano kaku pe pu sa ta shi pe chi pu hata mua lu ice mo lu na quan lung bảo lịch nhau hồ cá này giờ. And so let's say lung co nhau nó nè, lung co nhau nó sang ta chỉ biết bù, thầu biết chẳng có biết bù, có tips á biết bù có nhau sáng sau xin nè, ta chỉ bù cá này, có bù bao hạt ta tụi tôi nên ở lúc bao giờ lung bảo lịch này giờ, lúc na quan lung bảo lịch. And so it's like your biết tụi king này giờ. Thầu cũng do navana, for example navana nè. Kunji navana da kupu kanosa. I only see it on the top. Nu to king ka surface na. Nu kyo le kyang, nu halu le kyang sa. Ta shi kutu shi bao hata nu mo nu zu ge nyu sha lung bao le kyang na yo. Until kundu nu ta. Okay. To kundu nu ta tan de kuma bao hata wow. Navana zu ge nyu sha. You know nu ge kon jo ma lu hang han dao hang na. And so we want to learn more about it, right? And then I just want to read this. Behind my smile is a breaking heart. Behind my laugh, I'm falling apart. Behind my eyes are tears at night. Behind my body is a soul trying to fight. Okay. So I will
Có
stop
luôn của tao
there.
rồi.
Nasifu, Tomba, can you translate that? I can pull it back up. Oh, if you're talking, you're on mute.
muốn踩龙梦嘛，你牛啊，这是嘛，还早还点，那可点 behind 古路可能点到头那古那把古路古乱起，这是古路些嘛都到达。那把古路到那路的是嘛，古都错我I don't know what is it falling apart.古都古là luôn
đua tà đấy mà.
ha
Xuyên đua tà nó đua tà.
xuyên thua tà nó nên bỏ của họ mua nó thì gì mà thì gì nên bỏ của họ mua nó ý là tiền đó nên bỏ lúc của họ mua thì gì thằng món đồ chơi của lúc có mua lúc có mua nó lò món đồ right thằng nó nên bỏ của lúc chơi nên bỏ của lúc chơi thì gì mà nên chỉ bỏ được của tuần trước tụi plei nên nó xin đầu cho và của cho cái nhau xin nữa so khó nên bỏ này chỉ dùng để cho nó có này bỏ nó sát sầu sự thì gì mà nên chỉ bỏ khó và nhau họ hạ đây chỉ khó họ nhau họ đây chỉ khó thì dù lúc xưa nó từ từ ta dù từ chỉ khó từ chuyện này từ chỉ khó dù có mua gì nhưng từ món đồ gì nhưng từ giàu hoàn trong ta dù lúc xưa dù dùng chụp lên nên nó xin đầu cho dù cho cái nhau xưa là所以都chỉ sao ổn định so
Okay. Go ahead, Nasifu.
yeah we have Chua Leo Nangodati so I'll make it quick too hành到一批古過嘅呢只係到古呀，so on day ku pian ne ku pian min chi hai tia oli pata wa I think jong le nevana ya ne hai tia no you 做嘅關注的 depend ที่ใช้อยู่อันนี้จีรุ่นในโรง嘅家庭啊要嘅要的那so ku pian min chi hai tia那lúc時候話那東北門頭發展樣的，lúc時候的上的這有對有需要的比較上，頭有需要呢，古陣呀，可能話個好舊，然後 high school 大學嘅有需要的嘅，那要到你嘅我出呀出走嘅，冇個 college 我嘅，我發展的努力我嘅，就莫女天莫女些故事呢？这我来去了，我好了，我来去了，我给莫得啦，了莫给莫跟到莫给 everything， 因为我给女些古都best friend， 都好啲那古年了，因为有月子就草木都係啲古朋友了，这古人古都知，这些古都朋友用古只莫一個 secret， 然後古人那女去包。那我哋係古遲咗你啦，古已經 clear 咗你，那我媽古啦，古已經 clear 咗你，就係全部都 clear 到，即古已經 clear 咗你。睇有一段歷史去，即應尿的話，就要 clear 起到底，要得嘅尿血呢就真就係啲有個 clear 咗，即係就咯嗬。3月嘅都要貼，就要全部都 clear，就要古只 clear 到東北就古 clear 咗發出水，即那話。我只能弄到那个乡，这那个乡的来影响的那我只能弄个弄可以啊，这个发展的这民谣这那我只能弄这因新了咧，因我给全部影响的主要的头的。民谣姐妹就老叫你冇可見嘅，就你聽冇聲，係有啲好 church 啲，那就因為我嘅，so 像我這個背就那你摸你碌拉嘅，你都摸到你背都到背嚟了，就是嘛，用你平時做用就用你那摸嘅摸先啦，嘅摸話 the night before Mother's Day， 像我這能夠背你就你冇被出邊巴我 Mother's Day 就你冇被出來就冇興就有條冇 emergency 就拜就落條你報到就 the next day 是就你冇話你冇你排啦就你冇你做 colon 牛你字啊就你咁冇過就你 come back 就有 colon cancer 都冇都有 stage 不了你就那有靠冇因你拜 chemotherapy， 他繞你冇你冇的你都靠到你都用個 series of chemo 你你拜你都用了你都去摸看所以你都接了就是嘛，那在就咁冇過你就冇 check up 就然後啲能到很多了不大你都你就牛你都拉天你都就 liver 了天你就你天的樣的就去考了就考啲那考了有其中就去考了那就那穿咗了因那被我給家用毛頭去考了因我問到就是古人那頭那塊摸嘛古人炒古人菜就是嘛頭就天那不要給家用毛頭就天頭就更高嘞那我就我都古魯西我都古中國古去摸考菜呢古摸考這些還的就用嚟家了我就有考慮所以我就我跟你用所以呢就這樣貼錯等到的了有人頭我就有人這些還的人有用所以呢就有去摸考還的 以前把考点呢有教育这样，这那我没错，我这头我平时大家浪的这你去搞考了这那进得来这你天灵巴股还的。那我论内只摸你了，有种的家，这能把都你偏海等到都古了，古因偏啥的，这种古因弄你海，你个古 take no 了，古因 take no， 你海里家了，古因我的话看到古的，你海的古手机是那古每个海的古 entertain 是那边，那的话的古因真要古些的。那你也有用 ，so 这是我目前那走路那了我一路church 我一种么都你路一里想要切个章的，这那种么呢？这要我retire 都你的话点你去我是很急了那这。那的话，你 step down 的话，你 more cancer 呢，我知道了这，路一种么的呢，这 after 种么呢baby after 种么呢，这里 more 很这，by 背后么道理我问题说这，那他们还的知道了，那有其中了那这，天老这老怎老no Saturday。大叔呢，就老就不忙到这边那都而且都 ambulance 我头一了这呢，你还了顾还的那你跑多了，叫那种领导这现在去做事很累了，做了 couple hours 那这那姑只摸很差的，姑只臭天的话，我就我的咕噜些还的，那我就 got this， 但你要 take care， 你要要让去摸来去，那就姑只有些天这忙的这边要一忙，别不一忙干都这姑手了这，你对应着你着我爸，你着你去做很忙了，但是么你着我爸那咁我就你span do day 到你了，你就容易你就在到天，就古都么你做么你大 day 大就都不考上的，那古马来古马来好好被打捞个做就可系啲你譬如個管堂個塔做 prepare 你路celebration 那些有麼你這麼來了超多那些你譬 after 古個管堂個塔並且塔的是 for some reason that morning 那些古天嚟好你打撈嘅係啲有個空間個多就被塔那些那你話個一夢的是這大叔那些那上嚟那個多嘅那被塔这被塔那会被塔是这那之后弄样的迄那天马来的就古人要看到你下来你我爸一个人拿你我爸到我上去摸那些那这是塔那个塔其实这 different 那是这都那就弄绕 across 那天的用的是去我爸来，那就你去跑路拉就炸了那些，嘛听不晒的，那 he was gone， 这你都冇了这，公司头那这个嘛听不见，公司你人家冇这，人家冇用的话 become 一代话容易很到那跟前那个跑 through 你都啥到呢？ I could see to the other side. 只能这么呢那你的是这种的领導個把日做做啥到來 I could see through 你路 face 的那同到就咁嘛你 realize 係點 he's gone 這同到就咁嘛你 even then 我都是逃不去的吧就 even now 個家女士的個老個人就我到 because 個都 promise 個係點個我 take care 你個要 call 你個你用so 那個keep 逃不去的 ta rõ thì gì mà he's not he need to wake up need to on the cũng mà li realize hay tia he is gone thì cũng mà li thằng đấy cũng mà li chăng hay tia wow ôi cha nó nữ hay all this time nó nữ say all that nữ hay đó cũng chua lo lụ nữ hay ta cú này cú đó chỉ mua cú đó hay ít lo lụ và cú yo hay đó nữ đó why nữ she gone rồi so then that was I was really shocked hay tia nó nữ bắt chữ chơi lấy chọn được một linh đầu tí tia bắt chữ chịu qua lấy bắt chữ hại cho cô nữa so then that first day it's just like a rolling boat so I don't even remember hay tia who's there cho nên tuần tới cho lấy trả but I remember no cô remember being shocked that nó nữ chơi mô lên đó là cô tự chỉ tao hại cô cho lúc tao hại goodbye cho nữ and so I was so cô yên cô hành vì and then I was really mad cho vợ chú cô feel hạt để vợ chú đa cô nữ cho cô chỉ cho cô chỉ nó just listen to all the things that you hide and so after I don't remember only no no tao or unknown the no everything go remember which in your car who's there known the second day they pay no tông bảo you had there có bé some more rõ mò cho khoa hay there bé mong mà mua và ít tu sửa kia lên đóเลยchế mua rõ mò chế 我好了做这那这少赚的呀了多的这都是要点了多那我好了就是嘛这那了这点夸这那了这到在点那但就是好了到很给那就被那这个被上莫让嘛那这个人还的那被只莫让嘛呀点领导路被都学被了多 họ nó giờ chơi lúc bé giờ chơi ôm mỏ tuổi nó giờ lên họ muốn nói tua sửa bé là tàu nó xứ họ giờ thì nó giờ chơi họ thì chỉ muốn rằng mọi chơi chỉ qua là cả liền nên nhóm được chơi xứ nó chỉ chơi cũ là cũ mua xí phải chỉ cho nên chỉ ít nô là những qua ít là mua xí phải chỉ là những ôm mỏ tuổi cho bé bé nó chỉ lên từ tôi sửa bé là nó như tàu món nó thế thì của hai nó mà chỉ cho hai tiền and maybe tàu của lúc chỉ cho cả ta là thế thì mà của yên chỉ cho hai tiền nó lên từ tôi sửa bé cũng chỉ cho hai tiền bé bên trên là tôi tháo vào chữ ý rồi because con để họ cũng request cũng chỉ cho cả hai tia cho nên chế tuần sửa cũng chỉ remember bỏ nó cũng cho nên chế tôi sửa cũng tôi chơi cũng rồi cũng chỉ bỏ là hồ sơ đông tôi sửa cũng check on cũng cho cả hai tia nó chơi chạy chỉ là làm mỏ tua chọn được chỉ là mua lại chế nó next day chỉ cho trang cái mỏ chỉ là mỏ tôi chọn được chỉ là bài là sự cũng chỉ remember hay thì nó cho nên chỉ là tua và tua đó cũng nhỏ tua đó cũng bị cũng xia là do nó là chỉ mua li và ý auto nó là tua on individual lý sự thì mà cũng chỉ hay thì nên chỉ organize là do hay thì nó là tua summer hay so cũng feel nó chỉ bảo hay thì sau đó rồi you lúc nó chỉ work là you chỉ cho cả là sau đó chỉ mua tí right thì nó after be or lúc celebration ta the day to be a celebration đó là nó because what differently than what people used to. So people bảo tiền là chỉ bảo là your behavior giá đó cô. So những chỉ mua lên từ mua ở bên lên thì mà you chỉ only normal funeral. So cô chỉ xả lên giá thế thì mà you in xả hết tiền nó giá only cho you là sự đấy tiền. Chỉ mua xí hư là giá only chỉ mua you là thế.本身là only sự hư chỉ nhỏ giá only you là chỉ muốn弄cái đó chỉ cho lại là thế. Cái nó what do you feel only you chỉ matter là thế của mình bảo hay thì本身là lost là都是hư chỉ là những nhỏ些的của应该些hay thì là những quân chủ hơn đó bé quân chủ thì chỉ mà là chỉ bảo有海里家用比别些里家。And then after, no, the Sunday after through celebration, a bit by church, that was like the worst feeling I ever had is that you be cho nên tu be mo be nga hậu church be nga mo hậu there's a couple people that came up and hug Bay, but everybody else just turned and stared at Besu. Lungia Besu. We feel so awkward. Just only yata lolo. Lungia Bay only and we didn't feel welcome. We feel like Bay strangers. Belu church. And it was really hard. It was the most difficult things that I had ever done. And so it was just so uncomfortable going to church with your kids say they don't want to go back. It looks like we're strangers. People they just stare at us. But we didn't know. We continue to go because that is Beirut Church. They continue to go. There's this awkwardness between Bay memorial service celebration grief memorial service the church allow her time to come and grieve and come and tell stories and come and share your memories. So we did that. And then in the only allow a little bit of annual help bridge that gap between Bethel at that time. She constantly have to be to one because her expectation is that I should not feel anything other than I should be ready to I should be ready to help the grief and I suppose to more more hope, all of that. And so we end up being the comforter low versus low comfort goal. And so it was just so hard. I remember Mary High. I don't remember take care of Minyo. Remember thinking about Gusao, thinking about her pain. And then when I have to switch role and I have to put my pain away and then I have to take care of Lo. I have to comfort Lo. And I can't be I can't be to needy person. You are dear low comfort goal. So I have to be strong. So we have to tell illusion. So I have to do that, and I can't be what I need to do. So I didn't get to mourn. I didn't get to not grieve. It wasn't until it was just so hard to live and go to church there. So decided to ông bảo yên có bé or the thâu new là the có bé kia là nhonda South Carolina, but that was like not immediately, but it was just so hard for us to stay up there and continue to do that. They decided to move down here sooner than later, and when we moved down here, bé chỉ bảo lên từ too nhớ là nói chị cho của other brothers chứ của cho nhà là sư bé chỉ bảo lên từ, but you chỉ mua lên từ nhớ là nói yo chơi bé cho bé kia là nó là not one person, not one not one person call me and say, hey, not one person who check on go or check on my kids. And so biology, and you know, and this is you blame anybody, and I understand how all of us are grieving, and so no, I don't expect much from anyone else too. No, so biology is sad in that we have to move away to heal, because when we moved down here, my brothers love you, but outside the bedroom or no, my brother and I stay in my room, and that's where depression comes. There are days that I don't get up. There's days that I don't eat. She think about your health. You just think about what you lost and the aftermath of what happened after you lost your husband and how people treat you. And church, I remember one Sunday we went, and I just couldn't really, it was really hard to see somebody preaching versus my husband, and it was really hard, and I have to change my seat from sitting where I used to sit as near to a different seat, and I was crying really hard. Cái xã hội thì giờ sư hữu nhỏ thì tao rồi chứ nó sư hữu tôi biết thằng nó gạo nè, giờ trong khó sư hữu mù rồi nó chế có nó chỉ thao qua rồi nó 我先lo chỉ thao qua rồi giờ sư hữu nhỏ thì giờ có tua rồi giờ tụ tua sư hữu nhỏ thì sư tôi thằng nó gạo tôi dùng chế tôi dùng tôi nhớ chiao, you know, and so her, I know she means well, but hai lo luôn the doku na, it's just really inappropriate for one thing, and then really hurt idea. How can you say that and about Kututsi, and how can you say that about Gatusifu? How do you, you know, Gatuchibao ulu life lita, and how can you say that? It hurts me so much. And that and so that's one of the reasons why we decided that, you know, we chỉ muốn từ your bây giờ nhỏ bé có thiết bị lòng đã nó make no difference, because there's nobody for us. Nó thao sư hữu là chỉ bây giờ chẳng chẳng đã chỉ, so that we moved down here, but and slowly, even right now, it hasn't been easy. Even right now, có sinh chỉ cái face mà lấy hay dùng cho you, nhưng hay để lên cho you lên đó, but even now, not a single call to check on Gu, not a single call from Johnny Sifu, not pointing finger or anything. Dishimam, just to say that I don't want this to happen to another near Sifu or another near Jay Hadia. No, that the extent of people focus on their own grief and really don't care. You right, and how do you olija, no. So that's like the first. I would say Sue passed away in February. In June, July, we moved here. So it was very fast, very quick. We didn't stay in Milwaukee very long after that because it was really hard. It was really hard to live there. And but the first year it was. I say that I did not get a chance to really grieve until my second year. The first year I felt like I needed to be strong for other people. I needed to be strong for my kids. I need to be someone that I'm not. And so it wasn't until Bemu Israel law that I really grieved, that I really cried my heart out. And it wasn't until then that I realized what it means to be itu banjua, right? And the impact of that, and how people can just turn the mind, or just how they could just turn away from you so quickly like that. So that's.
Yes, sir. Ở cho các cụ tao nói các cha lú các gầu li xã thì các nhỏ cái bên trong chị nhà muốn năng kề co lại này thảoว่าchủ họ có mong đồ có cả chỉ nằm ngoài các mua cái cá xia mà họ khó ở cái hai tiaว่าchủ đa con làว่าchủ chỉ đa mà cái giờ có thầu này có chỉ xia có xã linh đại sư cóว่าchủ nàyว่าchủ hay đó có tiền việc thấy kề có tụi chỉ nếu như thấy kề là tia đó khó tiền nếu tính cho là nè nếu tên mót tên nhân tư rong là nè nó khó nếu hay đó có nên thấy kề cái khó nó đó cái có sao tụi xia đóว่าchủ lại cái gì dòng xia thì cho có tụi chỉ là có thứ đi cái mót cái nhân lại nhà nó bé cho nhá tất cả bên mà ship ba bé nhá bao đi con là chụp giờ quyền John trong thao bắt chụp có một cái cá xe là ya tạm đấy cái餐mua xe là nó mà sao tu xe ó bé chẳng cho cái trong lần chẳng lưu ra có chẳng cho ra có mà
我操啊，我cá xe là mà bắt chụp từ ba cô thao xong rồi chị,我还只这个程度我都故意啥做了还点，故意啥点，故意一顿称，我就故意做，我就得弄一顿称，我就故意扩声，故做更称，还点故 feel 的我错呀，你我就这个我打了我就对的，我就买来 take care 的，我就好做做那么天，照顾我能做热天，就古人提了，我就的是我就对 care 顾老，我就对 care 顾做对我个还个天，and so 那顾还做看到的。古 OK 了，但是嘛，古人寒假还点特上了古鸟嘅程度。古人家寫係古人報，特上了古 feel 到係啲真用因有鳥佢做了都可古似都話住嚟嘅人話住做路啦，古人前人話住做路，古人讀書，古人 nó tu sửa của yên chỉ thảo và chữ ya de của yên chỉ thảo và chữ của họ personal time đó và chữ yên chỉ mua lại vì để của tu sửa của chỉ đó và chữ chỉ thật xong thật thật ý xong ở xong đó chỉ của yên nhớ cho cái程度这个人 experience 係啲頭跟咗即係重度的，只要是嗰天你害錯呀，你假如個 experience that 個人報個人 feel 個人包含到係啲有時候的要係啲摸就你老母超有咗誒continue to 超有咗。nó bao nhiêu nó có nhiều và sau một chỗ họ trồng đó nó chỉ nó nhiều một họ cá thế thì mà cái tí sát từ là trồng chỉ muốn lên từ là nó bị cái gì từ lại thì if you need me I'm just a phone call away if you need me I'm here for you lấy hai lên đó but nobody show up right here hai lên đó thì mà nobody show up and so 我哋就係佢一啲約學做嘅做夠領導律師 right but so it wasn't until 俾冇 Israel that 佢 train 到佢係啲佢 prepare 佢 train 到 for on behalf of Domba be part of his unfinished trip that he planned and he wanted to go and never went but it turned out that God knew that I needed that and that he healed me on that trip. He put people in place for me on that trip. And that it was there that I realized and God spoke to me and what you is not done with you. One day you are done but what you do one day he knew you do one day you do one to me one day cũng chỉ đồng bào cũng有đồng bào我只没 plan 的我那就你我那最后来我最后来知道的啊 it was there that in Israel that 我就看过我就是那对我看过领导 so 那 from there 就过马里比过马里大家那turn to what you continue to read what you just slowly have brought me to made a lot of change of life but the first couple years that was the darkest time in my life so I'm sorry we went way over time so I'll stop there.
Yeah, thank you Nasifu for your vulnerability and for sharing such a difficult time in your life and the Nasifu experience how did the people that were in her life supported her and we don't know why people reacted the way they did, right? But we know that Nasifu needed someone to come alongside of her. At least itu na je ke yo lu nyong da ni ishang de ni tang. Tao ban ji de ni cai ni ju. Che ta ga mo to si lo nyong de ni tang. No ni ha na ya. And this is something that big na je we need to practice more. How do we do this better? How do we teach big na je I'm going to be honest. Even though I'm a therapist, I still have a hard time doing that for the church because, you know, sometimes you know, so for example, Nasifina, she's a very strong, God-fearing woman. And so I would say like, she's strong, she has God, she's good, right? But really Nasifu is saying, I needed people to surround me. I'm strong, but to be strong for me. And so the questions that we sent you earlier, are you guys okay if you've been more a little bit longer, maybe for another 15 minutes? just to kind of go over the questions?
That's
Okay.
fine to me.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna go back to the questions. I'm gonna bring it up. So okay. So the questions were, what did you hear from her story? What were some insights that you learned? How did you feel? What were some things that you could have said to encourage her? How confident do you feel that you are able to support her? And what do you think you could have done differently? To comfort her, right? Like her experience, it was very painful. And what are ways that you would continue to so and you don't have to answer all of them. Maybe if you could answer one that you feel comfortable with. So and experience how practice by your active listening skills.
So you want the answer today, or we can answer
we could
the
just
next
talk about it. We could talk just one thing that you said or what you thought about.
Well, I'll answer. I mean, I'll do number 2. I mean, I'll do some other ones too, but like, what were some insights that you learned? And what I learned, at least the one thing that really popped out was that and everybody. I know like to reach out to you, but my thought was always like, okay, like you have a lot of and so our thoughts was that you like, well, I didn't know you personally anyway, so I do apologize. I don't have your connection, but now I do. And now that we're Facebook friends, I'll probably reach out more to you. You know, that's why we're family oriented, and that's how we flow, you know, that's how we operate, and that it's how it should be. The Shima from God is that that's not what happened, and that's, you know, it's almost that you were neglected. And so I'm sorry to hear that. Thế rồi cái trả cho you tell the to hai na lại tell you the cả thế. Đó cái you mà cái nhớ share thế thì tell you the cái cả đó cái chỉ bảo thế để xem mà thava chú giả sĩ đó. Để phần that but I do pray for you that I know that you've come a long ways, and that you got more and you're just moving forward. So I just thank God for that too. But sorry to hear that you had to go through so much. And I do pray that none of us would have to go through that as well.
Thank you, Nasika. Rituha, may question could miss an answer. And
Yeah.
how do you think you could support?
Cũng hay khó kìa. Sometimes do trai này sẽ hứa là do cho leader ya. Cause là sao thì you bảo ba chữ là nó chỉ là chỉ là support you na, chỉ là thì you have to strong woman, to strong believer, nó chỉ là chỉ là ba you là na ya, ấy tiêu còn là ya, họ ấy là nó cho na ya, cho cái là sao you bảo ba chữ cái chia sẻ tan ra ba chữ cái you chỉ mua cho cái quan chúa, thì cho cái you share đó là bây giờ ya nông nông ya. Để bây giờ nên để bây bảoว่า主的是頭俾摸để bây摸佢啦，有個好摸個啦，你應摸你俾應chưa摸，弄到有用的是應要做弄我個大家們去試去呀。I pray that 個對我到個應trở nên弄chia sẻว่า主นะ，可能要一個飛的個節目，要ว่า主做，要ว่า主做如果很聽，但是一個question của mua của tiền要 sometimes you know là này ạ cho họ cũng bảo tiền món đấu tuổi là cho sẽ cái cho nhẹ you tiền của you cha của ba tàu con này ạ chỉ trong này là nhưng giờ tiền chỉ mua đã chi à này ạ ấy thôi là trong này nó bây giờ ba tàu của ta mình tức khi nó đâu thì bây giờ support được đi chaแต่ชียาตัวเด็กตัวนี้อยู่ตัวสารีเช่าหมู่บ้านเนี่ยนอนเนี่ยเพื่อนหน่วยแต่ช่างสิ่งนั้นอยู่เขาอยู่จ่าเพี้ยนนั่นแหละอยู่ก็ชิบเอาเดี๋ยวตรงนี้ยาตัวเองเทคอยาเดี๋ยวตัวเราตัวใช้อยู่ตรงปอยาเขาว่าเต้นลูกเสือปอยาเต้นลูกเสืออยู่สายยาอีกนึงจุนกรีฟเทียอยู่ชีสาก่อนแล้วตัวต้นปลาตัวอยู่เขาสามว่าลูกเสือเนี่ยสาจ้อตัวนึงอยู่รู้เทียนั่นแหละกูหันนู่นนะสัเทีย
กูมาwe think about the you just what about the dollar here, right? You more like you just the yeah, good nigga to back right? So pay you bao hay the you got sa ban nữ je oli pata mary hai you know có hôn nữ the hey có nhỏ je của tôi số có you right je có tua sư ấy giờ thì yeah của the của nhỏ mà nó je tua sư nó tua nó mua ra chỉ là ba hay là chỉ mua là just be there and talk right we don't have to talk na but just be in the house talk so na that is no condo no kusa tiền nữ yo ba cô chỉ ni hay tiền có tuổi ư phi ư tao thả là yên thả tao thì mà khó tiền, giờ cái tao cái cú kia cái này cú ni lý giải chứ I will never tell you. Cú yên chỉ hay cho họ thì ý cú chỉ sao want to be about the all of là nó cú chỉ là cú mua mình nhở chứ trong mình nhở mình mẹ ai cú ni help thiệt nè giờ cú trong mình nhở là tự lo ta chứ nó lời我到了天就古人去摸得见到天，要得个啥八股个啥，你找了个啥都炒股热就户要古鸟节就多少。That's what I would suggest.
Thank you.
Yeah. Một lên từ ha.
I just have a number ina as far as hearing from your story. I think what I heard was that the loss of pastor was very hard on you, but in addition to loss of pastor is also the feeling of lack of support and abandonment from your own church family. So in a sense, it was two great losses for you. One is pastor, the love of your life, and then your family, your church family, where you felt that they were not there in support of what you needed. And so I hear those two things, and it's something for me, and I think for the rest of Beto sisters in the church now, because like Lipatatu, other Nijehai, sometimes when people are grieving, it is really hard for them to be able to tell you what they need. And as Ito sisters, our offer sometimes seems like Bela Haikotasana, and but yet sometimes it sounds like an empty, it's just to say that it's done. But in reality, I think for me is, how do we teach Begonije to be more, I don't want to say transparent, but what steps do we need to be able to provide support? For example, whatever you need, please call us and let us know. And then what I hear you say in your response is that they should have just known what to do, or to just come and support you. And so I think those are things that, for me, I would like to know more of, how to help people respond, and then what is an appropriate response? Because in a sense, I've seen myself in certain situations too, where I respond like that. I will also say, I'm here for you, whatever you need, please let me know. And I think most of the time, you are sincere in saying that, but you got you more follow up from sometimes you feel like you're also bothering them. And I think this is that gray area of what do we do when we don't get a response?
Yeah, I think that as one that went through the thing they want to idea, I'm here for you, just let me know. Or I'm just a phone call away, I'm here for you, just let me know whatever you need, I'm there. I get irritated when people say that to me. You know that I would never but yet so I'm saying that that's the wrong statement to say, but then the right statement would say, you know, can I come and stay with you? Or maybe statement do it, right? On Friday I can come and whatever let's do that, right? And then again depend có relationship đó to person that, right? Có be able to gauge in có conversation, but maybe you need to ask more questions. But I would say ask more questions about how you can help me with that versus I'm there for you. Don't take the initiative and make suggestions, right? Hey, no, right? Or go take a walk, right? Tell me what you need. Don't leave call job to go to clear corner. You take the initiative and come and clear what I need, you know what I need. At that time, she bought the good need China. Be a good she work good she good call sana idea. Na good husband, she no good side what no jelly. You know, you know, all I think about is that, and all I think about what that means to go for the rest of life, and what that means at the celebrate new birthday, and then I think about that, and I think about when I turn 50, where you watch a little party, little girl, he's not going to be there to do that, right? So all I think about are those things. And tell you what I need. I don't know how to do that. So then that it's your statement. Those are some of the statements that we need to stop saying. And so we mean, well, I'm guilty of that as well. And so they need to take the initiative and say, let's go take a walk. I'm here, let's go take a walk. And if you know you can't not commit to something, then you don't need to commit to anything. You should take the initiative and do some of those things versus wait on you.
Yeah, because the loneliest time for someone who's grieving is when they know that there isn't anybody there to support them, or no one has reached out to them, and they don't know what they want. They don't know what they need at that time, because you're going through, when we learned about the different cycle, the different emotions and dimensions of the grief cycle, it's confusing for the experience called grief. And so and I think this goes against everything that we understand how to support. We tend to say, you know, it's gonna pass. You know, we said, oh, you know, can I do, like, what do you need? What do you need? Because we don't know how to support them. And I think, and that's okay, that's what you're kind of hitting at, because we don't know. And so because we don't know, How can we learn a different way of doing that? And it's what Nasifu is saying is that take the initiative to just do. Ask the question. Don't be afraid to do that, right? Even if she doesn't respond back, na y'all. Even if, let's say, like my friend, Gunu husband say, na y'all, I text her, did she respond back? Now, I'm okay with that because she will do it on her time, right? It doesn't mean I will give up. I will still continue to pray for her. I will still continue to send her messages because it's exhausting for Tutoneng Halu take care of you because they still feel like they have to take care of you, right? My friend, when I call her, she thinks that she has to take care of me because her husband was one of my best friends from college, right? And I have to tell her, how can I take care of you right now? I bring her lunch. I bring her dinner. I've invited her to our Bible studies so that so things like that, don't leave them alone and be okay with asking the questions. How can I pray for you? Are you okay? And if they don't answer, take that as a sign where it's too hard for them to talk about it. It's still too hard. And so sometimes it's the act, like they say, actions speak louder than words, right? That's more powerful than having empty words. And I think that's what's so painful about it.
Yeah.
About that,
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
And we can continue this discussion next time too. So that's if I'll hand it back.
Yeah. We will definitely from here on to your more about question there. What specific will we be can we do or can we say? Yeah, if you hide your luli no till it's total your support lolita. And so tonight call story it's just just a little bit of what go experience and it meant for continue to talk about the different parts and the different aspect of no more okay, and we usually look at this as 3 separate times, different period. Each what happened here, right? The day of and the next 2-3 days of event. There's different need that we can do. You have to pay your job or inside the circle a baby or you have to pay be able to follow at that time. And then another time is like immediately after the funeral. Yeah, after the funeral. I think that is like right after the funeral, that is the most critical time. What happened? Constantly in and out. Celebrate after the funeral. Everybody the people stop coming, right? So immediately after the funeral, baby Bob young morning support Lucy that Lucy Lucy by law no need to support you continue depending if you don't gauge to person more 3 separate time Linda. And so when be thả cho thia be strategize here be yo bali ja no each lúc hào nó nu gu hay nu gu call for different strategy ya cái ba nu tao nu cho mình chỉ thầu nó happen cái đó thia thầu nó luôn đánh ta thia tao can đó nó cái ba nu cho mình chỉ so now they begin to think Linda and then so yeah the and begin to be more question they begin to write your question down and got the based on the Lucy Hannah they remember here and be how touch on Linda Zemo. Okay, any more question that she to be so mono.
I just want to ask what's the nông cái thì cần nó và chú hai chú cái thì I will take care of him cái chú nông và chú mình hay thì how will và chú take care of him right?
Yeah, I did. What you hear go from scripture and new hear go idea go think back about Guru life, how he have take care of things, how he always meet my needs, right? And so I look at he took me to the different time in Guru life idea how new me go need. They knew able to take away gu call gu nhua xia a gu how little what chi chain bu lo bu chi zhou zhao a idea not on chai right because gu have fear tao gu luo gu chi sa yu ji bi gu chai or banjo and the gu have fear or a long time a no the hot de gu nia to họ bên mua hải giờ chính xác là chỉ bên mua kinh linh đó là biểu to họ thì cuốn nhẹ chỉ là nó cuốn nhẹ nó chỉ yêu到cuốn nhẹ tức là họ police nó chỉ多了这那cuốn nhẹ yêu到bé也cũng họ mua xong thì cũng chỉ多了bây giờ cuốn nhẹ大了呀我帮助那我古年了，我帮助这古顿菜，古顿莫靠 feel 呢 from very young， 老还点古菜有几的话点那啥古都几都会照顾这样。And I was in fear that 頭你 morning 的especially 頭 second time 就感冒了，佢多了去 call 你去搞 call I I was 古人菜。And then Vaju took that away. He took that fear. Urugu Jinjokan Chai called Jinjakasa. Wow, what if I become a widow? Yeah. Wow, yeah, dear, no good to see. That's a share gu choku sugu yoja. No took away gu have fear that a guduchi. Gudichin chai, a good Martian tear, children, good Martian Donamu call. Research so I was able to focus on then the ekuchi second China right? So yeah, but only pata yeah, he did. He took care of it, just not the way I want it to be.
That's right. Yeah.
So but it took me took me 2 years to really realize that and a lot of dark times unnecessary Dishima. I believe whatever they go through, God but you yin shi tao khó bé go through the walk no what you don't more Tia they or be down the law, Nichia idea, Nito for nothing. There's a purpose in that. And so no but if we are able to buy somebody and to gọi là có yang or là unnecessary so they call unnecessary là gọi là gọi yên là cho mù gọi là mua cái操作个mua cái ba叫为用来顾诶都看不出了那họ nói và chữ hu trả cá lọ right nó trả cá lọ và chữ đen nụ chỉ cho hai nhà kia một đấy họ cho thì nó như một cái chân chỉ ni đã chỉ tí gì mà lý giải cũng chân là thì chỉ một lần từ chỉ ni đã chỉ nè in such time like that everybody being đông càng cái ba and so nếu nó để tu chế yêu到班到để tu chế yêu 8 小时你念到这个班到你念这个8小时 and so we just have to do what we can so any other thoughts?
Cú sa hai tia yo chọn được khỏi tia có situation cú sa tia lúc xí hẳn trong cái page reach out đấy cho tin nên để tia có ý tu chụp out reach out right so cú sa tia this is a kind of like a wake up call cho bây giờ anh nhà chơi na hai tia có giờ tia cho lúc xí hẳn we also need to try to reach out giờ tia bây mỗi cái tia I just need somebody around you know I'm just feeling sad you know, bây giờ chú hay, chú bảo đã chỉ là just, can you just stay for a little bit, or they know na, you know, you có hay cho luôn đấy, cái chú bảo thì, tôi đã chỉ là cái lấy nhon đấy mình chỉ cái, tôi có luôn cái, giờ cái mua cái đã chỉ cái, tu share là cái sản phẩm thả là chỉ mua đã chỉ là lấy chân cho cái nhau là cứ tàu thế bây giờ này trên này giờ thì cái chú hay đã chỉ là chỉ mua tôi hay bây cứ chuột thế bây cứ chú bao thế này giờ, so bây thọ bây tôi tàu mà thế bây chú bao thì, tôi uli trả thế so like Johnny tu nia jay hay tenu tu husband I kia mo blood day la na ku tu text ne ku de oh you know ku yo cho ko mo ato mo na mo na ya ku cho ko mo na mo ne de oh my daughter already made dinner for me don't worry so you know nu hay tenu lu na to ku ku sa oh che nu chi sa ko ku tua ya tua mun cho nu tha thì thằng nu chi san cho linh tu tha so ku chia li chủ lại so then that she go out was only marry hai then nữa thì chia tiền là hai nô nó sẽ có chia chủ á có chủ double check cái chỉ cho các text đôi thế để của hai đôi thì ôi cái bún nhon nó cái nhon thì để của sao tôi chắc có bữa tao nữa thì tao mà giờ thì yêu chúng ba đó chỉ là mà như thế hai thì ok giờ có dùng ba cho nên mua đó chỉ mình thì thằng nó feel thì ôi bây giờ ít có burden cho có để của chỉ sao có ở đó chỉ được cụ thế so you know của họ all đấy chỉ nó hai thì nó hay nó lúc ở trong cho cụ cụ thế tao lần cho nó thả okay so yeah so I was just like you know just don't really matter don't give up on cho tin nên you should double check text again and again until you know that she go like that you tap out there oh they're okay chimorachi
yeah everybody is different right so no what makes based on how new is that because it被其中系统呢古嘛古切顿内我那我他 right 古切顿内我你他要跟海里家就古带领到古切顿内我那有别古路内 for you know 要个钱弄的古因只别古路内 so 那我个古做谈到古都钱个所以古都那古都年老to right 老头古鸟头路时候的古做这个呢你弄古你海古老古都是包弄的他 I can't even talk to 你的话 I'm not used to 不要老古只一直那古一直kia của lúc này của những chuyện kia của đây cái nhớ xe cái mò trâu lên từ chủ yếu của kia của tôi gì theo vắt chữ xí này cái của tôi chỉ đó vắt chữ là họ của tôi gì từ mua lại của chỉ mua lên từ right cái nó chú ý hay thì của nhớ nó của thản chú tuân theo của nhớ là của những chỉ bảo hay nó I don't even know how to talk to her right cái nó so thì giờ tới tôi giờ thì nếu chỉ bảo hài luôn có gì, nếu có mình nhớ có to ask question, right? So no, and then those are some of the questions that be you làm một số hay what kind of question can I ask, right? So no, yes, but we're just gonna keep this going. So no, I really appreciate chia của her story. I think this is the first time that I talked to this extent about what I experienced. Gucci high E for equal reason is that I don't want to Gucci gu high na ma chia de gu hai tia gu punching lo chi ba gu, okay? Gucci me hai tia no Gucci chi blame anybody. Gucci hai tia this is what I experienced. E olo gu hai you know thầu con nhớ thầu con nhớ cái situation đó chị they made a come tao lời tu tua thế mà cú lúc lu hoặc là hay brain fog nào bây giờ là chị nó cú tu chỉ cho cá là cú tu chỉ bỏ đó họ thì tê thầu tê lúc chuyện là chị you chỉ bỏ đó chị you bỏ họ you need to bỏ所以多人的chị you chỉ bỏ so there may be some that I tuổi nó cú họ chỉ cho cá là but no Kaku experience is that I felt gu bao hai tiền nữ trong linh đạo so ni chỉ ha dia so the reason gu chỉ should be is that yeah you be je trong linh put you more on blaming and that's not my intent kono and so no I hope that nature here call dia no cú本身人哋是老古，人哋是八古，古做嘅專業門道啦，老是老是這第八古 ，OK。So I hope that you don't hear that, but you hear that itu person that in grieving. This is what in your mind. This is what you see, and I hope that it may be partially true and that they are helping and I just don't notice, but that and that's how I felt. Okay, so I hope that you hear that and not that no blame idea no local at all. So anyway, thank you for giving the time to share, Kondo. And so we're meeting. What's the next time?
The 12th.
The 12th?
Is it 13?
The 13th.
Okay, the 13th at 8 o'clock, right? Okay, Jay, no, be your shy, be your Tondo. And then we're gonna dig into what you saw. Okay. All right. Mr. Hua, could you close us in prayer?
Yep. Be gong xie talk to you your poetry in English, okay? So when you be lindsay. Có thể từ chỉ thôi trả thì có thể từ chỉ bé mà chỉ bé bảo hai tiệt có lúc bé hình có thể cho có từ chỉ số là tôi thấy cái sao. And Father, I know that you loved us by allowing us to have sisterhood in Christ. And God, I just pray that everything that we've talked about tonight, Lord, that you would keep it buried in our hearts at the forefront of our mind, that Father, we would have this burden to want to encourage those that are grieving. And God, I just pray that you would continue to equip us and give us wisdom and discernment, and that we would be able to be a light to those that are suffering in darkness. And Father, I pray that you would continue to use us so that we can bring our sisters in Christ back to you, that they can be made whole in you, and that your truth and would be able to set them free and guide them back on the right path to you. God, I pray that you would continue to watch over all of us and that we would have a hunger and a desire to show love and to not be afraid and to inquire and to continue to follow up. And Lord, I thank you so much for allowing Mary and Nisifu to share their personal experiences and to be able to enlighten us. And Father, as we prepare for this evening, may we find rest in you, and that as we start our day tomorrow, we will continue to think about those that have lost, and that you would show us how to be able to encourage them and to be able to support them, Lord. I pray all this in your mighty Son, Jesus Christ's name.